Medrash, please give him your undivided attention.
Good morning, everybody. It's not easy to be here right now. It's been I would describe the week, the last 2 weeks, it's been the hardest last weeks of my life. But when I stand here in front of you right now, I'm not standing alone. Itamar is standing with me over here right now. I personally, as a young child, had a dream in life. And my dream was to return to Eretz Yisrael, to come home to Israel. I was born in Brooklyn myself. And as a young boy, I remember being in the Catskill Mountains in the country and talking with my cousins what the future is going to be for me personally. Everyone sort of was talking about their future. And I pictured living on some beautiful mountain somewhere in Israel. And I could say, Baruch Hashem, I had the wonderful privilege of returning home when I was 21 years old. I made Aliyah finally. And it's been the greatest experience of my life to come home to Israel, to return to the land of our forefathers. Unfortunately, of course, in the hearing, we spoke about Tamar, the terrible thing that happened on Itamar just 2 weeks ago. And I want to relate to that quick story because I was there myself. Still remember the response team for many years. For the last 20-some odd years, I've been remember the response team in the community. Not only, again, as a community leader, we do a lot of volunteer work because that's what it is when you build Israel. You got to be strong. You got to invest a lot of energy to build the land. And it was 1 o'clock, it was about 5 to 1 in the morning, and I get a phone call, my emergency phone. My wife Leah says, Moshe, the phone is going off. I quickly hear right away that something's going on, some shots were fired. Now, of course, we know that they were slaughtered with knives, but there were shots fired in the community. That's how I was woken up. I quickly grabbed my army vest, I grabbed my rifle, and began to make my way to one of the houses in the nearby area where the shots were being fired. When I reached the corner of the house, I met the other parts of the team, the response team. We began to run the direction of the Fogel house. We began to hear that already people were killed in the house. When I got to the house, and I stood at the entrance of the house, and some of the members of the team were inside, they came out quickly and telling us it was murdered inside. And I stopped myself at the entrance. I didn't want to look again to see the blood of little babies, parents slaughtered in their house on Shabbat. From that moment, it wasn't over. We had to continue running from house to house. Every house in the community had to be covered to make sure that everyone was okay. The terrorists were still not at large in the community. This took hours until finally we realized that they had left. It began by a warning signal on the fence at around 9 o'clock, 9:05, that the terrorists at that time entered the community. A lot of people ask, where's the security fence? Well, we have a security fence. They climbed over the security fence. Since the roads are not in order, and it was very, very misty and cold, and windy was hard to see, they got over the fence, they got into the forest, and from there they made their way up to the new neighborhood. The Fogel neighborhood, as a matter of fact, was a neighborhood that was established as a response to the Shabbat massacre, and which happened in 2000. And it was amazing how that every house in the neighborhood was bought, and the terrorists targeted that neighborhood. When I was going through my mind when I was standing with the fighters, for one moment I lost my cool. I was saying to myself, like, what's going on? Kadosh Baruch Hu, please help us understand this terrible thing. And immediately, you have to get back and say, right now we're on a mission. We have to make sure everyone's okay. This is a feeling different kinds of feelings we have to go through during this terrible incident. But then again, we get back to exactly what happened. The terrorists made their way up to a neighbor's house. And the Chai family, and no one was in the house, thank God, they went away for Shabbat. And in the Fogel house, an Onik Shabbat was going on, a beautiful Onik Shabbat with the parents who were angels, mamash, singing Shabbos songs, beautiful atmosphere. At 10:15, the terrorists waited until around 10:15 till they left the house, and they went inside. After they left the house, the Tamar, 12-year-old girl, left with them to escort her friends, 7th grade girls, and they went to, everyone went home, and she went to the neighbor's house, where she stayed till 12:30. And the terrorists at that time entered the house, locked the door from the inside, and just began to murder the children, the parents. And they ran through the window, stepping on the children that were sleeping on the couch. They didn't realize they were underneath them. So that's how the 2 kids survived. They ran out the window and they ran away and escaped. Tamar came back at around 12:30. The door was locked. She looked in the window. She saw mud tracks going to the room. She was frightened. She called a neighbor who came running over They were yelling through the window, and the boys on the couch woke up and they opened the door, and then Rabbi Cohen said to Tamar, go and see your parents, because he thought maybe they were sleeping. He really, no one in the wildest imagination would believe what happened. They enter the room, Tamar goes to the room, she finds her parents slaughtered in the bedroom. You can imagine she comes out screaming. I'm not going to go into more details. This is how that terrible, terrible evening turned to what was supposed to be a beautiful Shabbat turned into a nightmare for the community of Itamar again. Itamar, if you look at the front gate of the community, the youth this week put up a sign saying, 27 years of Itamar, 22 victims of terror. Itamar is a community that the books have not written the story of the terrible, terrible difficulties we've been through over the last 27 years. Or really 10 years, a decade when it started with the Intifada. But I want to clarify something. Itamar is a very, very powerful community. Right now, as I stand in front of you right now, I've been running around since I got here a couple of days ago, nonstop, trying to explain to people what the spirit is all about in Itamar. People of Itamar came there to build a homeland, not for Itamar people alone, to build up the homeland for everyone that's sitting in this room right now. Every one of you are soldiers for the people of Israel. You have to realize right now, we read about it in Tefillah, every day, Tikab shofar gadol chevotenu. We will sound the shofar for our freedom to come home, kibbutz bevotenu, returning to Zion. The process that's happening now in Israel is a redemption process of Am Yisrael. It is moving along. Hashem is not waiting for everybody. We have to join in the force of building our land. And Itamar is leading. It's on the front lines. When you're on the front line fighters, you have the most casualties. And that's the way it works. But if someone would ask if we, God forbid, regret for being on Itamar and building out this community, God forbid, we are happy every day Hashem gives us the build and the strength to be on the land of Israel. And every one of you has the power to make a difference. And if that means finding a friend on Itamar, a high school boy. I myself am a high school teacher, Dina. And that's more than anything. When people told me, Moshe, you have time to talk to high schools. And I said, that's my favorite audience to talk to boys. Because the future of our nation is within your hands. You can make a difference. And one day, God willing, if you don't make Aliyah, your children, your grandchildren will be living on places like Itamar. So we're holding the fortress for every one of you over there. And I want to, of course, invite everyone to come and live on Itamar, come and visit Itamar, because it's a beautiful place in the Shalom. And our answer, what are we going to do? How are we going to respond to these terrorists that want to destroy Hityashvut, destroy Israel? The world is talking about illegal settlements. This is the center of the land of Israel. This is where Avraham Avinu, when he crossed over the Jordan River, and he made his way to Shechem, it says, this is where Itamar, we read about this week's portion, Itamar and Elazar, they're buried in the village right below us. That's where the terrorists came from. People try to lie and create lies in this world and say, it's not the Jewish land, it's Palestinian land. We have to speak out for our nation, our people. Hashem is giving us the opportunity now. As we read in the Megillah. Who knows, now is your power now. Mordechai says to Esther Malka, you have the opportunity now to make a difference. And those who fight for Israel and will be part of building Eretz Yisrael will see in the Yeshuat Yisrael, will see in the salvation of Israel. So I want to again thank you all for listening, and I want to invite you all to come and visit. B'sorot tovot, Shavua tov, Pesach Sameach L'kulam v'kasher.
Well, just for a few seconds to see if there's any of the boys in Yeshiva, does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to ask Moshe Goldsmith any questions connected to the attack? We have a couple of seconds. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. And I didn't tell you before to think of questions, but if anybody has anything, one or two questions. We have somebody. Yes, Shlomo Zeh.
Okay, that's number one question, security. Obviously, first of all, Itamar is very invested in security, and we have a security fence, we have a security camera. Unfortunately, the terrorists knew exactly where to enter the community. We had an area, there was a blind spot in the camera. The army found in one of the houses nearby the village, they found binoculars and telescopes. They were collecting intelligence on our community for the last few months. They also found a big arsenal over there inside the village below us. But we're working very hard. One of the things I've been running around right before I came here now, allowed myself to run here, is talking to, again, Knesset members, security committee of the Knesset. We met with generals. We have our own personal, of course, security committee on the community. We're running in every direction we can in order to improve security for Itamar. There's a lot to be done. And again, that's one of the reasons here now. I'm here to raise funds also for different things regarding security, and we're going to improve the system. Nothing is foolproof. The best way, the best answer to prevent terrorist attacks is by building and bringing much more people to live in the community. The more people live there, the more power we have, the more guards you have, and B'ezrat Hashem, the more security we'll have.
Any final questions? Another question? Amichai.
Why specifically that family, and why specifically in Itamar did they attack?
First of all, again, Itamar has been targeted. Targeted because, as I mentioned before, we're on the front lines, right? We're surrounded by the city of Shechem, which is the holy city of Am Yisrael. That's where Yosef HaTzadik, is buried. I mentioned Awalta is where the Elazar Itamar building. This whole area is central for the Jewish people, but right now we are surrounded by Arab villages and cities around us. Itamar is spread out. The landmass of Itamar is the largest community in Judea and Samaria, as far as land, not population-wise. We're a small group trying to hold the fortress down. We have a huge piece of land. So there's a lot of different ways to enter the community. We have a fence on the lower portion of the community, and our upper portions, our hilltops, you don't have any fence at all. And that's why Itamar is targeted. Because it's a frontline community, right in the center of the action. And of course, the fact that it's hit so hard, they want to break our spirit. But again, people like Udi, Fogel, these people are true leaders of Israel. They were thrown out of Gush Katif. Can you imagine living in Gush Katif? They're living in Nitzarim. They came after Nitzarim to a place called Ariel, nearby Itamar, the city of the Sharon. And from there, they came to Itamar to continue the battle for Israel. Amazing people, amazing family. I'll never forget when I was sitting next to him Thursday night, right before he was murdered in Shul. I had a little chavuta with the Gemara, some Balabatim, we learning Gemara together. And I looked to my right, also I see Udi next to me. This distance, I'm looking at it, and I looked 3 times at it because I saw a white light coming at him. I was like looking 3 times, I caught myself. Even when I walked out of the Beit Knesset, I said, what was that? I only knew later on that he was so already connected so much to Shamayim. These people are Kadoshei Elyon. Anyone who knew them, knew the family. The boy was in 5th grade, he knew half the Shas Mishnayot Bapeh.
Where are the kids right now?
Well, right now, the children are in Yerushalayim. There's a family in Yerushalayim. There's two sabbas, 2 grandparents. One in the Beit Zuf and one in Yerushalayim.
One last question, Aaron.
What's happening to the house? Who's occupying the house right now? What's dangerous?
Well, right now, the house is closed, and that's a question the family hasn't decided yet. Different things are being mentioned. We don't know yet at this point. We don't know.
Okay, I want to thank Moshe Goldsmith very, very much. Hopefully, you have a sense of the fact that 350, 360 boys here have heard the message, and hopefully we'll bring the message home to their families and parents about the importance of strengthening the community. One last request.
I assume everyone's a Facebook fan these days, right? So right now, someone just told me this week, I'm calling for a third intifada. There are like 300,000 people. The Itamar Facebook, we have some people helping us putting the Itamar Facebook. It's called the Itamar Support Group. And we only have about 2,000 fans. If everyone here gets about 10 fans, we want to beat that number of 300,000. So go for it, guys.